picked up a card to look at it a little closer. Just a black and white drawing of some people. Turned the card over. No picture. But it said Social Cue Cards, Set 15. Copyright Educational Access at the bottom. Eddie saw a small number. He turned over another card. Social Cue Card Set 15. Copyright Educational Access. This one had a number 2 at the bottom. He turned the rest of the cards over. They all had different numbers on them. He arranged the cards on the table so the numbers were in order and then turned them back over so the pictures were up. He had been working long enough with Tiffany to know that she would ask him to tell her a story based on the expressions on the kids' faces. Before she came back into the room, he could get a head start analyzing the facial features. He looked at the first card. A tall boy and a group of kids was pointing a finger at a girl who was standing to the side. Why was he pointing? Was he choosing her for his team? Eddie looked closer. The big kid's nose was scrunched up. He looked as if he had just eaten a very sour apple. Maybe one with a worm in it, like an apple maggot. Or half an apple maggot. That would be worse. Or maybe he thought the girl smelled bad. Mitch sometimes had that sour apple look on his face when he talked to Eddie. What did that mean? Did he think Eddie smelled funny? Sometimes Mitch smiled and laughed. Eddie had always thought that a smile meant somebody was happy, and a laugh meant something was funny. Was Mitch making fun of Eddie? Was he happy about it? But Justin laughed and smiled at Eddie too. Was Justin making fun of Eddie? Eddie wished people weren't so hard to figure out. The next card, card 2, showed the girl with her hands over her face. How was he supposed to analyze the expression on her face if he couldn't see it? Card 3 showed the girl turning away from the group and the rest of the group turning toward the tall kid. The kids weren't smiling at the tall boy. Instead, the ends of their mouths were pointing down and their eyebrows were squeezed together. Just like Justin when he talked about Mitch. Maybe Justin was mad at Mitch and not at Eddie because Justin thought Mitch was making fun of Eddie. So is it okay for friends to get mad? Tiffany wobbled back into the room, wheeled a chair over from her desk, and sat down next to Eddie. Sorry that took so long, she said. How did you do? Pretty well, I think, replied Eddie. Let's have a look, said Tiffany. She examined the cards and looked at Eddie's face. One corner of her mouth turned up, like half a smile. Now, tell me about the story. Eddie could feel the adrenaline in his body increase. He wondered if Tiffany knew that he'd cheated. He hadn't had time to complete his facial analysis other than the sour apple look and the mad thing. Why did it take him so long to figure these things out? Justin seemed to be quicker about it. He was probably a lot better at it, too. Was Justin right about Mitch not being Eddie's friend? He and Mitch used to be best buddies. When did that change? Eddie heaved a huge sigh. Eddie, is something wrong? Eddie didn't want to say it because if he said it, it would be true. He asked a question instead. How can I tell if someone is being mean to me? Has someone been hurting you? No, nobody has hit me or anything, although Mitch sometimes pushed him real hard. Tiffany stared at Eddie for an uncomfortably long period of time. Have you told Mr. Benton about this? No. Maybe you should. Eddie shrugged. He didn't see what good it would do to tell the principal about his inability to figure out who his friends were. He would probably get another detention for cluelessness. Tiffany wheeled across the room in her chair to a file cabinet. That was a good strategy to prevent spraining an ankle in those shoes, thought Eddie. She opened the bottom drawer, got out a pamphlet, and wheeled back over to Eddie. You might want to read this. Eddie glanced at the pamphlet. Say no to bullies. He shoved it into his backpack. Oh, Eddie, I'm so sorry. We seem to have run overtime again. I know how much you hate being late for lunch. That is fine, said Eddie. He saw Tiffany's eyebrows rise very high and explained. I got sick of never finishing my lunch, so I changed my lunch routine. Tiffany gasped as if she were frightened, except she had a big smile on her face. Eddie, you are just full of surprises today. I know how much you hate change. I hate hunger more, so now I just pack a quickie meal bar. He pulled one out of the front pocket of his backpack. Chocolate Crunch. Sometimes change is a good thing.